Dia free 0.4. 0.4 dia free balik. 0.4 je lah. 0.5? 0.5 kita naik pula. Mana mahu je. Aku dia pasal memang. Okay, tapi akak tak boleh. Akak 5.4 memang boleh tahu. Tengok masa tu nanti. Kecil-kecil juga. Oh, 5 je ni.
Halo, Assalamualaikum. Aku boleh delete. Tadi Jamil saya Assalamualaikum Syami. So dengar suara sendiri ni.
Sekejap saya configure speaker je.
Sekejap, saya live dulu sekejap. Sebab saya rasa macam dengar suara sendiri lah. Syami? Syed?
Hello je saya.
Okey.
Okey.
Dah edit yang apa ni?
Dah edit dah.
Dah edit accordingly lah kan? So,
Yang saya komen tu pasal introduction je kan, yang the rest semua okey kan?
okey je. Yang the rest semua okey. Lepas tu nanti buat sum up sikit lah towards the end macam biasa lah. So, kejap lagi. From time to time nanti Syed akan feed awak dengan soalan ya. Kalau ada soalan daripada chat box nanti, Syed akan feed awak. Awak prefer dekat mana? Dekat phone ke dekat mana nak feed awak soalan? Phone boleh?
Saya rasa phone lah, sebab dekat phone
lagi saya ada nombor Syami tak? Dan group ada kan? Nanti Syed akan letak dalam group yang baru kita buat semalam tu. Boleh?
Group buat semalam. CACS tu?
Ya. Yang CACS punya sekretariat tu. Okey, Syed akan letak dalam tu soalan. Lepas tu just in case kalau tak ada soalan daripada participant, Syed nanti come out dengan 2-3 soalan Awak tengok. Sekejap Okay, just in case kalau there is no question from participants, Syed akan provide Syami dengan soalan. Okay?
Alright.
Okay, so speaker akan masuk 2.15 sekejap lagi. So nanti mungkin you boleh macam tanya dia apa-apa yang patut lah. Kalau ada apa-apa soalan yang nak perlu tanya kepada speaker.
Okay.
Okay.
So speaker panggil dia Miss Malaki ke Miss Mala je?
Miss Mala je kot rasanya.
Miss Mala je.
Mm-mm. Miss Mala je lah.
Alright.
Okay.
Hello. Hello. Apa? Biasa tu aja. Azul. Kita dekat Syamil ni. Cuma aja. Tak, ya, moderate MC Syami.
Suruh dia masuk ni je. Suruh
Saya
Awal.
boleh kena dia
Tadi.
tengok kisah ada problem saya gitu.
Hi. Hi.
Hi, Miss Mala. Miss Mala, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm just trying to set up my settings. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Miss Mala, I'm wondering if the camera is too high that the
No,
view of your...
I'll be standing up.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, I'll be standing. So then you have the Microsoft banner in the background, so it won't be there. Okay, could I just try sharing screen?
Yeah, please. Wait.
Okay.
Okay, I already disconnected my sharing screen so you can share yours.
It says only meeting organizers and presenters can share. Could you make me a presenter? I can't click the share button.
Okay, wait. I will try to make you as a presenter. Okay, you're already a presenter. Can you please try to share the screen?
Okay, thank you. What do you see? Are you in? Do you see my slide deck?
Yeah, we can see it. But later, I hope that you can open it as a slideshow to make it wider.
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Malau, with us, there is Mr. Shahmi and Mr. Hazwan,
Okay.
which is from Uni KL. They will be act as moderator and MC for today's event.
Okay, thank you so much. It's just an introduction for career path, right? So it's I don't think the questions are going to be so complicated, but if they ask, thank you so much for helping.
Sure.
Yeah, and I left like about 20 minutes for the Q&A. So if there is any questions, like maybe I missed out in the chat, if you could share, that would be great. Then I can do that.
Yeah, Mr. Hazwan also will read for you the questions in the chat.
Okay, can. Great, thank you. Could you give me 2 minutes? I'll just go out and come back for a bit.
Yeah, sure, I can.
Cik Nizam. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum, saya.
Saya Haris. Kita ada Syami kat sini. Kita punya moderator untuk hari ni lah. Syami akan moderate the session dan Hazwan akan provide Syami dengan soalan-soalan yang akan diletakkan di chat box ya.
Okey, baik. Attendee sekarang ada 14. Minta tolong kawan-kawan untuk masuklah kejap lagi dalam 2.30.
Alright.
Okey, terima kasih Encik Haris.
Alright.
Syahmi dengan Hazwan boleh cuba untuk buka kamera dan test mic untuk test dulu, takut ada apa-apa masalah.
Hello.
Suara dengar tapi muka tak nampak, mungkin
Tak tahu.
gambar tak nampak.
Hello.
Okey, boleh nampak. Untuk suara semua okey. Okey, Hazwan nanti akan buka kamera juga ke macam mana?
Tak.
Okey, untuk suara sajalah Okey, baik. Okey, terima kasih. Yang dah ada kat dalam meeting ni, dalam webinar ni, minta tolong untuk bagi tahu kawan-kawan to join us for the webinar petang ni.
Hello. Okay, hello. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon, everyone. Before we start, I'd like to introduce myself. I am Shahmin Ikram, and I will be your moderator for today. I would like to welcome all of you here today to Mastering Digital Communication for Career Success. And before we proceed with our program, there are a few ground rules that I would like to emphasize. Please turn off your camera and your mic throughout the program as to ensure a smooth sailing of the program. And for those who have questions, you can save them for the Q&A session after the webinar. So without further ado, let me first introduce the speaker. Today, we have Miss Mala, who is the lead trainer, mentor, and digital trainer, while also being a radio host at Tracks FM with us for today. Not only that, she is also a panelist for Pursuit of Purpose Masterclass series by Jay Shetty. And today, she's here to provide you all a webinar regarding communication strategies and practices for your career success. Without further ado, Ms. Mala.
Hello, hi everyone. Thank you so much, Shami, for the introduction. I think you're being very, very kind. So I will basically be I will basically be doing a short session, and yeah. So let me just start sharing my slides, and then we can get on with this. Okay, give me a second, yeah. Okay, slowly then. Right, just wait for it to load. Is it loaded? All right. So yeah, welcome to my session, Mastering Digital Communications for Career Success. And of course, what are the strategies and best practices that you can use. So just to share with you, this is going to be a very chill session, more to just speaking with you and discussing with you what are your questions, if you have any things that you're wondering that you want to ask or you're not sure how to, you try Googling it and you got like so many different answers and you're not too sure what suits you, feel free to just post up questions on the chat. And as we go along, we can answer questions, or towards the end, like what Mr. Shami said, we can go through all your questions together. So there will be time. So as and when I'm like sharing with you, if you have any questions that pops up, just post it up on the chat and I will like get back to you, okay? Alright, I'm so sorry about that. I kind of kicked myself out of the.
Yeah, now I
Okay.
can see your screen, but it's like
I think it's loading. It's taking a bit to load though. Alright, are you able to see my screen now? Okay.
oh, mine is like
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Alright. The Biji-biji and Marika, right? Can you see? I'll just like stop sharing again and try. Okay, I think now okay. Yeah, I think now it's okay.
okay, yes.
Yeah?
So what is it? See? You press busy already. I think it's clicking on there. So let's exploding. Please
All right. Okay. So I'll just share with you a bit more about where I'm from. So I think Mr. Shami actually shared a bit more about me and what I do. But just to give you a bit of, can you see the screen that's coming up?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So a bit more of like the main job that I do, which is together with Biji-biji Initiative and also in America. So just to let you know, Biji-biji Initiative is basically an NGO that we run, and we do programs like Beyond Beans program, social innovation, and circular economy. You can definitely go and check us out, or you can just come to our space at Patika as well. So if you are around KL, or if you're like shopping around Publica, just come by and drop at our place, and then we'll definitely like want to show you around. And we also have another entity called Marika. Now Marika is there are three different divisions of it, which is Marika Academy, which is more to like future of work. So a lot of you over here, this will be very relevant to you, which I'll share with you a bit more of the programs later on. We've got Marika Connect. So for some of you who are into like the art world or the creative hub world, you can actually, if you have any workshops, if you are running any like, if you have like any paintings that you want to do or teach paintings, or you want to teach any classes or courses or run any events, you can actually post it on our hub called marika.io. And yeah, I can share with you about it later. And of course, Marika Space, that's our space in Publica itself where we rent out. And if you have any events, you can definitely like buzz us as well. All right. So moving along, I hope my slide is okay. All right. So a little bit more about me. I won't take up too much of your time. But yeah, so I'm also a radio host at Trax FM, and basically I do the morning show from 6 to 10 a.m. and then I come over here to Publica and work as a trainer and also a mentor. And meanwhile, I'm also doing my master's in counseling. Basically, I'm a counselor in training as well. And yeah, so these are a few other programs that I've run. Wisely Bootcamp was one of the really good projects that I've actually worked with because it was directly with the US Embassy. And we met so much of participants from all around Malaysia that spoke about like civic engagement campaigns and we also run like accelerator programs. So there were many opportunities to join and run different programs with Biji-biji America. And of course, the few other areas that I also share about is like communications, digital marketing. I love those social medias. I do MC hosting and also a little bit of personal well-being as well. All right. If I'm speaking so fast or if you have any questions, feel free to just like chat and ask me to stop and slow down, okay? So what I need from all of you is basically to go to www.menti.com. So if you see on the screen, this is completely anonymous, so I would not know who posted this up, but I just want to know a bit more about you and what is your background. So I know a lot of you are graduates from Uni KL, but I know this is also open for public. So it'd be great to understand a bit more about you. So if you could just maybe search with your phone, www.menti.com, and there will be an icon there that comes out for you to enter your code. So could you enter 25296921? So that's basically the code on the screen. And then you'll be able to see my screen as well and answer the question. All right. Okay, so the first question, just to understand a bit more about you, have you been employed? So we've got 4 people right now on the screen. So we'll just wait for everyone else to be getting used to this. So just to let you know, this is good. There's going to be a lot more questions like this from Menti, because I do want to have like an interactive session with you. So yeah, just feel free to log in right now at www.menti.com, and you can use the code 25296921. Okay, super easy to remember, okay? So the options are basically, have you been employed? So if some of you have been just graduated, like yay, congratulations to you. If you've done internships, then maybe you can click the one with internships. If you just got your first job, maybe you can share with me a bit more about that. Then at least I can know, based on my case studies and stories later, I'll be able to know what to share with you. If you're like me, you do a lot of gig work, like I do a lot of gig work and freelancing everywhere I get. That's something that you can also share. And yeah, if you're fully employed, you can also put it over there. So just to see who are the audience for today. All right, so we've got graduated. A lot of you have just done your internship, which is great. We've got a few gig workers over here, and some of you are employed. All right, fantastic. So keep the answers coming. Although I move on to the next slide, I will still be able to refer to this later on. So if you haven't gone to the website yet, go to www.menti.com, and then you can use the code 25296921. Just click the code in, and you will basically be right on this slide as same as me. All right, so we've got 15 people so far, 16 of you. All right, so I think a majority of you have done internships, and you're also doing a bit of gig work. Okay, that's great. Thank you for sharing. So here's another question. All right, have you been in an interview before? So if you have been for an interview, whether it's for your internship or if you've been for an interview, I don't know, maybe there's like a volunteer work and you had to go for an interview first and they had to like chat with you, informal one or a formal one. So let me know, of course. And if you haven't yet, also share with me. Okay, so a lot of you have already been for an interview. That's great. I would love to hear your thoughts on our session later. Okay, all right. So we've got 14 of you that have been to an interview before, and 2 of you have not yet. No worries. A lot of tips today will make you feel a bit more prepared, and hopefully when you actually go for your interview, you would definitely ace it. Okay, so the next question. So for the 16 of you that just answered that, yes, you went for an interview, right? What was like the most scariest part of the interview? Okay, so if let's say, for instance, to give you some context, you were just nervous on what kind of questions that we're going to ask. Maybe you prepared for one thing and something else, they asked you something completely different. Maybe you were like me when I first graduated, I just applied for every single answer. Basically, any answer that requires me to, let me just enter the answers. Okay, nervous, your mind goes blank, all right. don't get the job. Yeah, I think that's like a common fear that we all have when we really want a job and it's so cool. You see the website, everybody having fun. They're like, I want to be part of this community. So you're just nervous you didn't get the job. You know, when they ask you a question and suddenly like your mind just go blank. Yeah, I totally agree with you. A strict interviewer, that really scares me because as you can see, I love to laugh and talk and share. But I've been in situations where, you know, when I'm being very friendly and sharing and the person is just like staring at you and not even smiling or even a little bit, and whatever jokes that you're telling, it's not sold, right? So there are interviewers that are like that who are very strict and meticulous. They only want to know a certain skill set, a certain part of your job or what you're doing, and then they will be like, okay, next one. Not preparing enough, that's something that I also can understand because, you know, sometimes no matter how much you read the website, like you don't know what they're going to ask, right? So, or how many times you read the job description, the role, the task, it's very difficult to determine the questions that are going to be shared as well. Awkward stare when a question's asked. It's not I'm stupid, just panic. Oh my God, I get lost all the time. I have to let you know, like whenever they ask me a question, I get blank and, you know, nervous because I'm like, is this the answer they want to ask me, or should I have said something else? Or if some of you are like me, like right after I'm done right after I finish a session, 20 minutes later I'll think of a really good answer, and I was like, my gosh, I should have definitely told you that, right? Tricky questions, yeah, like you know, they ask you stuff like, oh, what's your weakness, and you don't know what to tell. The interviewer was asked technical questions for things I didn't know or forgot. Okay, I think for some of you who are in fields of engineering or even fields in psychology, right? Like when we go for an interview, they do ask like what kind of theories you're used to, what kind of techniques. So they do get a bit technical with these kind of things. So I'm sure other industries like even design and all that, they will require these sort of technical questions, right? Confused to what to answer, okay? Not able to answer as expected. The look the interviewer gives when they go through your CV. Oh my God, that's so true. The minute when they're asking you a question and you're just like flipping through your CV, that's the most intense moment. Waiting for the response or result after an interview. Okay, that's a good question, a good nervousness or scary part to end this session. Asking about future career when I just won my first job. Okay, that's a good one. That's actually something that people don't really share. You know, you really want to basically just go through the experience of getting a job, but then, you know, when they ask you so much about your future career, and that makes you a bit more nervous, right? Yeah, judging looks are scary, make me forget my answer. Yeah, okay. So these are questions that, these are basically situations that we all have gone through at one point of time. So during these sessions, we're basically going to dive into this and discuss a bit more further. So if you have any unanswered questions after this session, you know, feel free to ask, okay? So if there's any situations that I don't cover later on, you know, just like prompt me and I will go through with you. All right, thank you so much for sharing. The interviewer or the company already got their post candidate. Oh, that's harsh. All right. Next question. Do you use social media to find for a job? Now, this is something that I really want to know because a lot of people don't understand the importance of using social media to get a job, but I just want to understand that. Have you tried? If you haven't, what's the outcome? So, okay, 11% of you said I tried and failed. All right, 90% of you said yes, of course, I use LinkedIn. That's fantastic. It's really great to hear. I think a lot more people are using LinkedIn now to connect, whether it's building partnership, whether it's connecting with like different employers, or even, you know, when you want to basically get to know a few organizations, or even prepping before an interview, a lot of people use social media. 17% of you said I never knew how to do so. Okay, that's great also because we can go through it during this session. What? People use social media to find a job? Yeah, exactly, they do. So there is a big part of finding a job with social media. So for some of you who are just done with your internship, you're looking for a permanent role or fixed role, we can go through and dive into this, okay? So keep your answers coming. I see 22 of you here. But for those of you who just got in, please go to www.menti.com and you can use the code 2529 6921. Now I feel like a telephone operator. Okay, and you will basically come right to this slide where we are, and you can answer the questions as we go. Okay, so I'm just trying to get to know you and understand a bit more about your background before I start this session. All right, so this is a big one. I need your honest answer. If you don't know, just tell me you don't know. If you know of the specific areas when we saw the post or the description, you know, where you can master your communication success and best strategies and practices, what do you actually want to learn or gain from this session? So I really want to make sure that each and every one of you that are here today gain something valuable. And if you could share with me from the start what you want to gain or what you expect out of this session, that will be fantastic, because I can definitely incorporate it as we go along the session. All right, so I don't see any of you on this slide yet. We've got 2 answers. Okay, how to stand out from other candidates. That's one of our subtopics. I'm bored, so I want to hear you out. Okay, thank you for spending your time wisely. I really appreciate the honesty. You know, instead of watching Netflix, you decided to be here. I will try to be as entertaining as possible. Okay, maybe some action I'll do later, but we'll see how long. Maximizing LinkedIn feature without paying premium. Okay, that's not part of the discussion today, but I can definitely add it in at the end. Fluent communication. Okay, that's going to be something that we're going to speak about. Confidence, yes. Digital platform to upskill, fantastic. We got that also covered. And input so that I can improve my communication skills. I see this theme coming out, communication. Okay, great. Step by step to get a job for myself, better job for myself. Better job. Are you already in a job or you just want a job? Okay, so based on what you're sharing with me, you have a job but you want a better job, right? Okay, so that's definitely something we can cover. Current demand or expectation of the market. Okay, fantastic. I love how thorough this question is. So 13 of you that came to this session, 14 of you that came to the session really thought about it before you came. So that's fantastic. I love to have a really engaged group. So this is great. Great PR skills, professional, sound, yet casually and approachable. Banyak lah tu. You professional and then you want to be casual and also approachable. Okay, we can do that too. Okay. How to do networking for someone who isn't too good at socializing? This is an interesting question that we can definitely cover. Learn new techniques and enhance my digital communication to help my career findings. Okay, that's good. Confident and wait, there's one more. Confident and not worried anymore. Okay, so I see a lot of confidence. I see a lot of communication skills. A bit about digital platform and how to upskill. More to like PR, communication again. Understanding the expectations and demand of being in a job. And of course, using digital tool as well. Okay, all right, that's great. So, what we're gonna do today is, basically this is going to be our learning journey. And there's going to be 5 different sections to today's session, right? Let me just check on my time. Okay, perfect. All right, so stepping into the working world, that's going to be the first one we're going to cover. So for some of you who are not too sure how to stand out, what to do, and all that, we'll be covering over here. Strategic communications, how do you communicate with people? So this is definitely something we're going to cover. Your pathway to success, I can only try. We can only share each other's experiences and see how we can help each other through the process. And also soft skills and entrepreneurship, all right? That's definitely something that we're going to cover. And this has a lot to do with your confidence level and how you present yourself. And of course, ask me anything at the end of this. You know, even if it's about Netflix shows, I can answer. I can assure you that, okay? So we're going to go to chapter 1, which is stepping into the working world. Can I just see a show of like hands or thumbs up in the chat session? If there is, you can check. Are all of you okay? Like thumbs up if you're okay and you're ready to go, or do you want to like grab a cup of coffee or tea? Is there any response so far? No response? Are you all here? Just show of hands, or you know, just like maybe raise your hands, or just like chat, like yes, you're okay. No, you need like 2 minutes.
3, raise your hand.
3, raise your hand. Okay, fantastic. Anyone else?
Yep, there's a lot of people raising their hands.
All right. Okay, there's a lot of people. All right, okay, so the hands are coming up. All right, great. So we're all awake, we're all good, and we're ready to go. Okay, we're ready to step into the working world. All right, so these are 5 areas that you would need to step into the working world. Now, I'm going to take some time. It may seem very simple. Be open to ideas, know your value, working experience, networking, research. I guess like we all have read this over any article. We've all seen like YouTube videos about this and stuff like that, right? But let's dive deeper into each section and let's go through a bit more about what you actually need in order to step into the career, into the working world, right? So the first one is definitely be open to ideas. I think this is something that I also learned like a really hard way, because when I stepped outside the working world, I expected jobs to be just presented to me, and not just any jobs. I just expected like this image or this vision of how working life is going to be like based on all the movies I watched, the stories I read, that I would just like get the perfect job and then before you know it, I'll be a millionaire. So that was basically how I envisioned it when I joined into the working world. But the reality was not at all like that, okay? So you really need to be open to ideas, because sometimes certain aspects that you think that, okay, this particular job is going to give you, it might not actually give you. So you really need to understand a bit more about what you want, what are your skills, your strengths, your weaknesses, what is your value, your principles, because certain companies or certain organizations may not be aligned with your own value and principles. So for number one, you have to be open to ideas. So meaning to say that if you go into an interview or you see a particular like job description that maybe does not 100% fit into what you want, it's always good to try it out. It's always good to go to the interview and see what are the opportunities you can get out of the company through this job, and what are the career pathways that you can get. So meaning to say, like, if let's say for instance you join as even like for instance an intern, right? So you're just like, okay, whichever company wants to hire me, I'm just gonna go because I need to do my internship and fulfill this for my university. But ask them during the interview, what are the career paths or what other jobs that you would see growing in this company or in this organization. And if the interview is really good, they will actually share with you their organizations, not their organization chart, but they also share with you like different roles that you can potentially grow into. Now, it's very important for you to see your career pathway, because then you'll be able to be more semangat to get the role. So although it's not the exact role that you want, you already know that pathway that you can, okay, just another 1 year and I'll be able to reach this managerial role in, let's say, customer service experience. This is definitely something that I want. So when I graduated from psychology 10 years back and doing my degree, when I started going to different organizations, I needed my master's to basically secure a job in the psychology field. So the closest that I could actually get was customer service experience or customer experience, or somewhere around along like dealing with people, right? Or sales job. That's usually what they would actually present to me based on communications and talking to people and building a connection. But what I did was, instead of just asking like, oh, am I just going to be doing phone call? I did ask like, okay, apart from this, if I'm really good at what I'm doing, what are the potential roles I can possibly get in your organization? So of course, I don't have the qualifications yet. I don't have maybe the experience, but what are the potential opportunities I can get in this company? Now, they will basically be able to lay down the pathway for you, and you can be open to see whether that's something you really want. Knowing your value, I touched base a bit earlier. So understand what is your value, whether it's working in a company or whether it's working with people. So if certain places like, they have like, I don't want to use toxic culture, but you just say it's very toxic, the way they treat their employees is not great, there's like certain benefits that you're not really getting. And if you feel like, oh, people are just like talking really bad about the organization, it's very important to know what you stand for. So even for some of you who are gig workers or you're doing like freelancing job, even when you're dealing with clients, and if your clients, for instance, ask you to work on like a Sunday night at like 1:30 a.m., they call you and they say, oh, you need to change this particular design because I need it by Monday morning. And if your value is to have like a work-life balance and to not, because you have your family, you have commitment, you have kids, or you have parents to take care of, or younger siblings that you need to take care of and you can't, it's very important for you to say no. But at the same time, of course, if your value is like, okay, this client is really good and they're not doing it or trying to take advantage of me, they just really need it, then it's fine. I'm willing to do them a favor. So that's something that you need to know. You need to know what's your value, what's your boundaries, what's your principles, what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. Okay, especially with like organizational culture. So during your work experience, now the reason why I put this here is because a lot of jobs out there in their job description, I don't know whether you went through it, but I definitely went through it, and a lot of my batchmates went through it, where they say they need a minimum of 3 years experience, minimum of 5 years experience, minimum of 10 years experience. How lah macam tu? It's like, oh my god, like I haven't even had 1 month experience, and you're expecting me to have like a 3-year experience in work. So how you can strategically do this is during an interview, if it's a job that you really, really want and you manage to land an interview, and of course maybe the job description says, right, you need to have 1 or 2 years experience in this field and you don't have that. It is very important for you to list down all the things that you've done relevant to this job that you did in university that you can also present and match it with the job. So for instance, if this particular job requires like analytical skills or teamwork or managing a team, for instance, you need to be bold and brave and confident enough to share with the interviewer or share with the company on how you have actually managed your association in universities, how you have conducted a training maybe, or coordinated a talk maybe, or how you have engaged with different clubs from different universities and you've done partnerships. So although you don't really have the work experience that they essentially need, but it's good to give this a shot where you are confidently trying to match what you've done before, the skill sets that you use that can be used to fulfill this particular job role or task. Okay. Another thing is networking. Now, when you're first getting a job or finding for a job or looking for opportunities out there, whether you're in the same field and you want to get a better job, for instance, for the person that shared it during the mentee earlier, right? This is your gold mine, networking. Always, always, always network with people in different organizations, whether even if it's in your group of friends. So not to compare with your batch or people that are working in your field, but it is very important to know what are the perks, what are the benefits that other people in the same job role or similar job role are getting. So for instance, if I was going to go into like a designing job, I would definitely network with people who've done it for like 2 years. I'll network people who've done it 3 years. I would then network people who've done it 5 years. And I'll compare and see whether that's the kind of pathway that I would want to give myself or take up. Of course, for different people will be different experience, but at least you will be able to sort of understand a bit more about what is required from a job, right? Instead of just going into it blindly and not understanding what it really takes. Because sometimes when the interview paints a picture and say like, oh, in this job you can get this, everything is also rosy, everything's also great, and then the job description is so wow, salary is so nice, but then maybe the culture itself or the job itself is very tough and people don't share with you. So it's very important to speak with people who've done it for any industry that you're passionate about or you want to try out, whether you are looking for a full-time job or whether you want to try out a new freelancing opportunity. Maybe you graduated in engineering and now suddenly you want to do like digital art and you're not too sure whether that's the right field for you to go in. So this is where you need to network with people in the field and understand how much do they get paid. I mean, don't just go randomly ask someone like, hey, you're a designer, right? How much you got paid? I mean, don't ask that. Okay, network. This is where you need to like ask them like intelligently. Okay. Tell them you're looking for a job, you want to understand a bit more about the industry. So could you share with me a bit more about what are your daily tasks, okay? Research. So networking and research, it goes hand in hand. So of course, when you speak to people, it's just based on he say, she say, and just based on like their experience. So you need to match it and research it and see whether this is what is generally going on. So even in terms of like, for some of you said like, oh, you're scared you don't get a job. But if that industry or that field itself, there is no demand, the market itself has no demand. So of course, it's going to be tougher for you to get a job because the whole industry has like maybe oversupplied of like psychologists, for instance. So there was one point of time like in medicine field, there were just too many doctors. And then there was one point of time there was like too many lawyers. So it was very hard to get a job. But then again, if the industry that you're in has like ample of opportunities, like let's say you're in a tech field or IT and now it's booming and there's so many people that needs it, then you know that this is the right field that you can go. So research is really important in terms of the current trend, the market, what's going on, what are the kind of like salary brackets, so you don't get like a lot of them. They ask me like, hey, they're paying me like 2.5, is it okay? Some of them say like 3,000 okay, 1,000 okay or not. So you have to really know what the industry is also like. Then you'll be able to research and find out whether this is something that you would value and do for it. Okay? So I hope that covers up a bit more about what you need. Now, let's talk a bit about CV, because some of you, just finished your internship. You're probably like, looking for a job, or maybe you're finishing your last semester and you kind of like dabbling into this whole like resume CV thing that's going on. So remember that each and every one of us, probably like I think 90%. Now this is not based on stats, right? Because anyone who wants a job, they would probably have a CV, or they'll probably have like a resume, right? Unless it's like a very informal thing where they meet up with you and they're like, oh, I like you, you get hired, and they're very informal, then fine. But generally, a lot of people, they need a resume or CV, right? And any interviewer or any HR, human resource department would be looking through hundreds and hundreds of CV, especially if the job is like from Microsoft, or what they will get like, easily 100 CVs a day, and some of them don't even have any qualification near to what their job role needs, but they will just like, apply with me lah, hopefully dapat an interview at least, right? So how can you make your CV stand out? You just need to remember that you are unique, okay? You are special, and how can you show that? So you're already someone who's very unique, you're already very special, but you just need to make the other person realize that too, okay? So now a lot of people, just to share with you, so even when it comes to radio, which, for instance, like we don't show our face and all that, right? Because it's on radio. We had to give like a video of ourselves. So a lot of organizations are actually transitioning into video CV or video resume. Like you just speak about like 5 minutes or 3 minutes about your personality, what you are, your skills, your strengths, why you want the role. So, and then you send it to them. So that actually gives them an idea of like your charisma. So it's like a job that requires you to be very like this, like talk, laugh, all that, you have to have that kind of skills. Then maybe using a video would actually be a useful tool to recruit fresh talent. So a lot of new companies are doing that. And even on LinkedIn, for some of you that use LinkedIn, they also have like a video option that you can just like, share on your profile photo. And it's not a photo, it's a video of yourself just speaking for a good like 30 seconds or a minute. Of course, you don't have to speak for 20 minutes or 1.5 hours, share your whole story back in childhood, what you did and everything. But it's just enough to gain the attention for them to get to know you. So that's something that you can put into your portfolio, or maybe send them a link, just a really general one, while you're also sending out your resumes, right? So when they click it, they'll be able to just view that video and, okay, this person's really confident. And and also remember to write your wins and your accomplishments on LinkedIn. So even if it's a small, as like I used to join Interact Club back in school, but I was so proud of it, I put that in my resume. Now you don't have to put everything on your resume. It's just that the reason why I put that, because that particular club built my confidence in speaking to people and engaging new partnerships with different clubs around the district. So I had to go and like make friends with other interactors. So when we had the conferences and stuff like that, they basically got people together. So there were so many things that I could use as a tool to engage with people, right? So this is why it's really, really important for you to highlight your wins and accomplishments. So although you think it's not great, it's how you present it to somebody else, and they will see it as like, that's such a win. You actually was very introspective that you thought of it, for instance, okay? Make yourself memorable. Now, this is actually pretty straightforward, but understanding what are your strengths and the energy that you're bringing towards the interview. So if you're going to the interview and you're very like nervous, you're very like scared, I mean, it's okay to be nervous and scared, but you gotta have a positive energy together with it. So meaning to say that you can be like, okay, I'm really nervous, but I'm also very excited about this interview because I've read about your company so much, and I just really wanna start speaking with you. Even when you present yourself that way at the start, it makes the interviewer feel like, okay, at least the person's really honest, but they're also very pleasant to speak with. And at the end of the day, when someone hires you, they're hiring a team player too. They're hiring someone that's going to be part of their organization. Number one is you're going to be the brand for their company, because wherever you go, you're going to be like, oh, I was hired under Microsoft. So that's a brand, you're using their name. And number two is you're also basically going to represent, and you're also going to be part of their community. So meaning to say, if you're like such a, you have like that energy that you're very bored, like, oh my god, why am I here? I'm like so nervous. And then the person also be thinking, ayo, why like this person like this? How to talk to this person every morning? Imagine every morning you come and see someone like really tired, lethargic, scared, nervous, anxious. So you need to like control and compose yourself, okay? Focus your energy and also make sure that you present it in a very positive light, so that even the person interviewing you would feel a bit like, okay, this person is quite nice to speak with. I could see this person every day from 9 to 5, for instance. You want them to make them have that impression of you, right? And in your LinkedIn, a lot of companies out there, even for Biji-biji America, what we do is we look at your LinkedIn profile to just see how active you are. A reason also being because a lot of job roles nowadays requires a lot of social media skills, whether it's digital marketing, whether it's like communication. So it's when you brand yourself and you have like a good or strong impression on, let's say, your LinkedIn, and I want to use only LinkedIn. I don't want to say like Facebook or TikTok or Instagram, because I think it could be more personal. It depends on what is your purpose of it, your intention of using it. But LinkedIn is directly for like organizations or companies and your accomplishments, right? So it's very important to leave a strong impression in it as well. Okay. So yeah, and another one. Wait, let me just go through this. Okay. So another big one is having the right mindset. Okay, so this guy over here is this Japanese dude lah. Okay, his name is Kazuo Inamori, and he's the founder of Fortune Global 500 companies. I'm not gonna go in like a deep detail about who he is and what he do, but feel free to like Google him and search for him and read what he's written. It's pretty cool actually, because he educates readers on the type of attitude and approach that will help you excel at your work. And now, before you even get into a job, this was his advice to fresh graduates, all right? So this wasn't for me, I'm just a messenger. I'm basically sharing with you what Kazuo Inamori did, all right? Number one is understanding the why of work. Now, if you're just getting a job because you're done with your internship and you need to look for a job because your parents are like scolding you, like, hey, you faster go get a job lah, stop watching all these shows on TV, you need to like, you already finish your final year paper, you finish your FYP project already, thesis done already, just go and get a job, you need to get money, it's going to be very difficult for you, okay? Because then you're going to be looking for a job for the sake of it. So you need to understand why of the work. So yes, finance is a big one of it, and that's okay. So it's good for you to say like, oh, okay, I definitely want to make money out of this because I feel like I've got skills and talents that I can showcase to the world, and I definitely need to get paid for it. Fine, fair enough, all right? Another thing is understanding your passion for the job. So meaning to say you need to love what you do. So for me, although I have like cough and I'm like halfway dying, my colleague tourist here is supporting me at the side. But as much as I can't talk, but I've been talking since morning 6 a.m. and that's pretty much my job because I love it. I love interacting with audiences, engaging with people, and I love sharing in terms of what we can both learn together, because after every session, not only you grow, I'm also growing, and that makes me motivated to do another session even after this, right? So you gotta love your job and what you do. So even if it's the most mundane job, for instance, administrative work, if this is something that you like to do, you like to zone out, put your music on, and do like your Excel sheets and accounting, and you're very passionate about it, great, go for it, And if it takes you a bit more time to build in terms of like your career path, if it takes you a bit more time to like, okay, build your salary, to increase your salary, it's okay. At least you're doing something you love. At the same time, you need to be strategic on how to negotiate for higher salary later on. You need to see like career paths or role that you can actually get potentially, but it's important for you to love your job. Why I love what he says about this whole mindset, attributes, and ethics, and the reason why I'm sharing with you today, because he came up with this whole philosophy during the economic recession back in 1990s. All right, so he actually came up with it during very challenging times when he saw a lot of business owners basically struggling. He saw a lot of fresh graduates struggling. He saw a lot of people lost their jobs, and this is why he decided to write a book and he, explore all these ideas. Because while he was making money, a lot of people were suffering, and that was the reason why he came up with this philosophy. And the reason why I'm repeating it today, because unfortunately after COVID, a lot of things have changed, right? When it comes to our working style, when it comes to our education, a lot of you probably was, learning online for a good 1-2 years, and and now you have to like rush. It's so odd to suddenly meet people in person. You also don't know how to engage with them anymore because you've always seen them on like Microsoft Teams, for instance. So this is why it's very important for you to understand and get the basics right first, and then you can explore different parts of it. Okay, hard work and persistence. Of course, you fear not getting a job. Of course, sometimes you get your rejections. I think the most hardworking person, or the most like interviews that you've gone to, sometimes you don't get it. So for instance, for me also, when I used to join, I used to attend so many interviews because of my qualifications, and I didn't have my master's. I couldn't pursue my career path in psychology, apart from like volunteer work and all that. It made me have to look at other fields which I never thought about, because when I was doing my degree, I always thought I was going to be a psychologist. And as soon as I graduated, and suddenly I realized like, oh, in order for you to be a licensed counselor here in Malaysia, you have to do your master's, and I didn't have the money for it. So I had to like reshift my whole mind and be like, okay, I can't be a psychologist right now. So I've got to look at like 3 other different fields or 10 other different fields which I've never thought of. And it takes a lot of hard work to venture to learn, understand these different industries, but at the same time, your persistence will definitely pay off. Okay, so another thing that he says is mindset and passion, work-life outcomes equals to mindset, passion, and capability. So basically, you gotta have the right mindset, you gotta have the the passion for the job itself, and your own capabilities that you are confident in delivering. All right, so this guy actually says a lot. That was the summary of it, okay? Because I had to read through a lot to get these like 5 words. So, if you are really bored and you want to read something, yeah, maybe you can pick this up. Okay, so let's move on to tools. So for some of you, you asked, right, what kind of tools that you can use when it comes to like digital tools and so forth. Let's do a bit of time check. Okay. Digital tools and that you can use. Now, a lot of questions, right? A lot of employees or organization ask is like, what kind of tools are you familiar with? And I'm sure a lot of you put in your resume like your skills. Some of you are good at like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel. Then you put like your scale from 1 to 10, how good you are in it. If you're a person who's in like design, and then you have to use stuff like Adobe or Canva and all that, so you will start putting in all those links. Now, it's very important for y'all to equip yourself with these tools, to familiarize with it, okay? Whether it's Microsoft tools, whether it's ChatGPT, I'm sure a lot of you have used it for your assignments, and whether it's in a working world. Now, a lot of companies are transitioning and basically growing with technology, so you don't want to be left behind. So although you haven't used it, start dabbling into it. Even simple stuff like Grammarly, I don't know whether you use it. When you are doing your resume, check it, cross-check it, and see whether Grammarly, your grammar is right, whether your sentences are correct. I mean, it's quite sad to see like spelling errors in your resumes, because that's the one that's going to be representing your whole working career, and you don't want like small mistakes like this. If you have like a very strict interviewer, they might pick up something like this. And in terms of like organizational tools, using tools like Airtable, Notion. I think a lot of university students use Notion as well. If that's something that you use to organize your life, yeah, you can use that too. And yeah, what does your industry actually require? So if your industry requires you to use certain tools, or you see like the whole industry kind of shifting into using, for instance, AI tools, you got to educate yourself. So although the company doesn't require it, the job description doesn't require it, but if the industry requires it, and you are 100% passionate about that industry, you got to equip yourself with these digital tools, all right? So be smart, see which one stands out. There are so many YouTube videos out there, courses out there, which is only like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and they kind of like summarize you how to use it, and just a bit of fiddling, I'm sure you can probably be an expert in it in no time. Okay, so we are going at chapter 2, which is basically strategic communications. So now these are do's and don'ts applying your graduate skills to workforce. Okay, so now if you can see, there's a lot of words out there, but I'm just gonna flow with me, and we'll give you some examples, and you'll see like how you can do it. So of course in university, sometimes when you go for late to class, you can just like walk in late, sneak into the back, and hopefully your lecturer doesn't notice you, right? But when it comes to the working world, time management is super important. So definitely do not bring that same attitude or whatsoever to your working world, because it is such a put off, even when you come to, like, for instance, meetings, whether on like Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever not, when someone is late for the meeting, or when you reach work late. So time management is really important, especially when you are meeting your client, or some of you who are doing freelancing gigs and stuff. Make sure that you manage your time properly. Now, teamwork is super important. I think when you do a lot of assignments with your classmates and stuff, like, you have to work with your team. Essentially, that is it's very important for you to reflect on your communication styles, the kind of challenges that you have. Not to say that will repeat during your working world, but you would also see a pattern that you can also be very, very mindful when you go into the working world. So for instance, if, like, for me, I used to be really scared to give my group assignments responsible to somebody else, for instance, because I feel like, oh my god, I would need to check every single thing thoroughly. I don't know whether somebody else would do it, because I'll be so nervous, and maybe they do it very chinchai, and then they just submit it because they don't care, we're going to get 10, it's only 10% or whatever not. But for me, I'm like very careful with it. So I usually try to do everything. So if someone is like slacking or not doing their work, I'll be like, okay lah, just don't care about the person and just take on their responsibility and do everything. But then again, I noticed in the working world, that's not really sustainable, because you already in your job, you would have so many things to do. And in an organization chart, everything works hand in hand. Everything depends on each other. So for instance, you can't say that HR and sales doesn't work together. No, essentially, sales brings in the money, and with that money, HR pays your bills. So it kind of works hand in hand. It's very important for you to work together. So if one entity is not doing their job, it will affect your work as well. And it's impossible for you to say to HR like, hey, I want to do your work. Let me just take up your responsibility, So this is where that you would have, like, not to say conflict, but you would have differences in whether it's an organization that you cannot just avoid. So if you're one of those that in team assignments, you tend to do everything, or maybe nothing at all, or maybe you are also like a hard worker, you like to motivate people, start looking at your skills and soft skills that you use in your assignments, or when you have run an event or whatever not in your university, and see how you can apply it in the working world. Personal brand and values are super important. This also relates to social media, because a lot of people, they kind of look at you at your social media first, and then after that they see you, and they're like, oh, this person is exactly like what you see online, or they will comment like, oh, this person is so different from what you see online, right? So your personal brand is really important, and what's your value. So basically, what is you? So if, let's say, for instance, I am Mala, or my colleague here, Turis, I'll just use her as an example. Like, who is Turis? Like, what does she bring on the table? Like, if for instance, like, Turis walks into the door, we know we are going to get like a smile. We know we're going to get a positive energy. We know that she's not going to like lie to you or say anything. She's going to be very straightforward with you. So that's like a personal brand. At the same time, she's going to be very compassionate, and she's going to be also very helpful, sitting down in a meeting training with me and hearing me, and also checking whether my Microsoft Teams is not crashing. So that's something that she's doing, right? So that's her brand. She's someone who's very helpful, she's compassionate, she's also funny, and she's very light, her energy is very light. So that's a brand, that's what she brings into the organization. So it's very important for you to know what is your brand, and you can present it in different ways, whether it's your resume, whether it's your LinkedIn profile, and whether it's just meeting with someone and sharing with them who are you, and communicate these values and brands to someone else. So for instance, if, let's say, an interviewer asks you, questions, you can actually communicate and say like, hey, I love working in teams. Does my role require me to work with different teams? Do I get collaborating like opportunities? So it's very important for you to do that. Another thing is learning. So for any of you, okay, hold up. This is something I'm gonna like burst your bubble, okay? Okay, I have to take a breather for this because I learned it the hard way. So if you think after you graduate, you're not going to have to learn, that's not true. Okay, you still have to study, you still have to learn, you still have to go through the programs, you still have to educate yourself. Okay, sometimes it's not really the best thing because you thought like, oh, I just passed up my FYP and now I have to learn again. But in your working world, education and knowledge is your superpower. It's your sword, okay? And the more you learn, the more you upskill yourself, whether it's in different skills, and if you really understand who are you, like for instance, if you're able to take criticism, if your employer says like, hey, I think you need to develop more on these skills, and you actually take the initiative to learn more about like digital tool, for instance, that would really give you an edge in the working world. Not that you have to be an expert in it, but they will see the fact that you are passionate enough to educate yourself and also to learn more about the skill sets that you need, right? Or you lack of, right? Another thing is in terms of networking, you got to continuously make friends and, basically share with people a bit more about like yourself. And this is where it goes back and ties in down back to your personal brand and also your values. And the conflict management that I mentioned before goes back with the teamwork that I shared with you. All right. So we've got another colleague here, which is Jay. He's also a head of trainer, and now he's taking pictures. And so I'm going to awkwardly just go through the next one. All right, so we've got pathway to success. I think in times we are actually quite all right. So now we are going to deep dive into the interviewing skills and what do you need to do. All right, the first thing is, I think we went through this earlier, is to research about the company before you go into it, right? So what's important with this is know not only your job description, but know a bit more about the company and the organization itself. What other roles that they have? What are they looking for? What's their vision? What's their mission? And now when you share your answers, you can align your answers based on their company's vision and goals. Now you don't have to fake it. If you don't believe it, don't simply say, okay, because they will know, okay, that you read out from their website that this is the sentence, okay? It doesn't work like that. Take what that's true to you. So meaning to say, if like you look into a website of like Biji-biji America and you see like, oh, this company and organization upskills freelancers and they give like a different community program for like B40 people and a B40 community, and I want to be part of it. I want to actually like be part of upskilling the B40 community and giving them free programs, right? If that's something that you want to do, it's important for you to highlight that in an interview. So it's good that you also understand the kind of past programs they've done. You can highlight a few maybe trainers that you kind of watch their training if you want to do training. And so that will make them see that you're actually passionate about it. All right? Tackling competency-based interview question. Now, competency is a bit of a word, but it basically means like your skill sets, like technical skills that you may need. So for instance, some of you say they asked like a very hard question earlier at the start, right? You're like, oh, the question that they asked, I still don't know how. So now, what I really liked in this recent interview that Jay, my colleague that just came here, did, he was actually interviewing an intern. And now she was really, really smart. Okay, so she didn't say she don't know. We asked her a question in terms of like, what are the challenges that she sees in her role, right? And instead of just answering it, she actually took a pause and she said, could you just give me 30 seconds to think about it? And when she came back after 30 seconds, not came back, she didn't leave, she basically just sat quietly and thought about it, wrote down notes. And then she came back, she's like, okay, I've got 5 different steps that I can do to solve this. And she went through the 5 steps, and it was so like profound that she actually thought about it and she articulated it really, really well. Because she wasn't just saying an answer to impress someone, which I'm sure based on her charisma and the way she talks, she could have done it. She could have been like, oh, challenges, like I'll do this. As she talks, you can see that they will just go on and on. She was actually being very meticulous about it, and she was listing down the steps on how she can solve that challenge. And that showed that she was someone who actually really thought about things, she really cared about it, and she was very interested to solve challenges. So she did have an analytical skill set that she wrote in her resume. You know, so when you are basically answering a technical skills in your interview, don't feel like you have to answer it within 2 seconds, or you have to be very confident, like, okay, for that question, it's okay. You can just take your time. You can be like, okay, that's a really, really good question. You know, could I just have like a minute to think about it, because I want to structure it properly. And then don't like take like 20 minutes and then like, let me go for coffee first, I'll come back, you know, and I'll answer you this question. Doesn't work like that. You only have like a minute, okay, because then it'll be super awkward. So, you know, take some time. If you need to take out your notebook, I think it's really good if you have a notebook with you when you're doing an interview, so you can write it down and then you can share it with them and say like, okay, these are a few things that I think I would do. And then you can ask them, what do you think though? So, or how would your, or does it align with your company, like goals and, you know, values of how you solve challenges? So these are very good to tie in back with the organization, and the only reason why how you can do that is to research about the company before you go. Avoid fake and generic answers. So this is very similar to what I just shared with you. So don't just say things for the sake of saying. Don't lie. Don't say like, oh yeah, I read this somewhere. If they say, you know, there's a tool, do you know how to use it, and you've never heard of it, better just admit. Because if suddenly you get hired the first day, they ask you to do the whole, they ask you to use that particular tool, or they ask you to like, hey, can you put this all in a Microsoft Excel sheet and you've never used it before? Don't lie, okay? And identify your unique strengths and weakness as well. So it's not only important for you to share how your strengths work, but it's very important to share how your weakness work. Now, the reason why I'm sharing with you, it doesn't show your weakness really. It shows basically how introspective you are on you yourself as a person. So for instance, if someone says like, what is my weakness? I would say that, you know, I love interacting with people, but when it comes to like organizing things and tasks, and having like systemization, I would need to take a bit more time. And this is why I'm actually going for classes to learn a bit more about how I can increase my productivity in this area. So you're always backing up with, yes, I understand that this is my weakness, but I'm also doing something about it. Now that helps you. Avoid overselling yourself. The last thing you want to do is somebody is like telling about, oh my God, I got this award, I got that award. I mean, they have your resume. They probably already read it. They are just meeting you to see you and to find out who are you as a person. They already know your credential and what you've been doing. So for instance, a question that very common for those of you who went for an interview, when they say, tell me about yourself, straight away people will be like, so I graduated in this and I'm doing this. I've got 30 certificates. I've joined 40 organizations. I've done, you know, that. So they're not asking about that. They really want to know, tell me about yourself. Like, who are you? So you can say that, you know, my intention to come over here today is not only to land a job, but I'm really, really passionate about the industry. You can share about you. Because when I grew up, you know, I used to watch trainings on YouTube, and I used to watch a lot of TEDx talk. And that inspired me and motivated me so much that I want to bring value to others as well. And that's exactly why I'm here today. And, you know, speaking about my technical skills, then you can say, I've done this, I've done that, and then you can go on with it, you know. But they want to know you, essentially. What are you passionate about? Who are you? And what value do you bring to them, right? So these are a few things that you need to do. And these are the essentials. So a lot of you said confidence is one of it, right? Okay, we're going to cover it right here, okay? So your soft skills is super, super, super important. Soft skills are like basically more of like how you speak to them, you know, what kind of like soft skills that you have, like, you know, that is not technical. So meaning to say stuff that you didn't learn in your course per se, but it's more of like how you communicate people, how you speak with people, what kind of like, whether you have good listening skills, whether you are good at like speaking in public. So these are all basically your soft skills. You can't really like track it down and say like, oh, my public speaking skills is 9 out of 10. Like, what test did you do, you know? So unless it's like a renowned test that everybody knows. So it's very important to also understand what are your soft skills. So if just say, for instance, let me give you an example. Okay, for instance, if some of you are in project management, all right? So if let's say, for instance, you have a project, you're gonna get a project from this company, and it's not only about how organized you are. It's not only about like how high you're gonna hit your KPI. It's not about how like how much of budget you spend in your project. Like you're good at maths and you're able to have like proper financing and everything. Your soft skills also matters, like how you manage a team, for instance, how you like to communicate within your team. What are the skills that requires for you to get people to get the job done? Maybe you're good at negotiating and building partnerships with different people. So it's important for you to highlight your soft skills in your interview. For instance, if you're an engineering job, and I know a lot of you will just go into the technical stuff of things which I don't even understand, but it's important to have a bit like a layer of soft skills. I'm not saying to just say like, oh, I can get the job done and not use any technical words at all. Of course, if they require it, and it's a job that's very technical, you gotta also cover the area, but you gotta layer it with soft skills, and that will make you stand out and also make you ace that interview, because you're not only someone who just knows this in theory, but you're also very practical and you're able to execute the idea. Because what a lot of employers are worried about is, yeah, the interview was really good, the resume is really good, but I don't know whether this person can do it or not. Because the reason why they end up feeling that way is because you didn't give them that confidence that you have all these soft skills to actually do it. Right? So in order for you to build that confidence, is for you to remind them on what values do you bring and what are the other skills that you can bring. Professionalism. Now, I cannot stress this enough. This is so important. Basically, let's start off with if you cannot attend an interview. Now, if an interview is scheduled and you can't attend it, don't just go missing, okay? Send them a proper email, okay? Share with them your concerns. Maybe you can just say an urgent matter came up. Could I please reschedule it if it's really, really urgent? Now ChatGPT is all over and it's easily accessible. You don't even need to type the email yourself. You literally need to ask the AI tool to be like, hey, send me write for me an email that requires me to, to show that I can't make it for this interview. It's as simple as that. Make it proper. And if you're going to be WhatsApping someone from the company, if let's say for instance you have to communicate with them via WhatsApp or they've texted you, always like send it again through an email. It's like, hey, I just contacted you via WhatsApp. Thank you so much for reconfirming with me on the date and time. Again, apologies for not attending this interview. Looking forward to the next one. That shows a lot of professionalism. So that's one part of it. Secondly is when you are in the interview, don't like ask the person, hey, what else are your company does? I don't know. A lot of people have been through interviews with me, and sometimes I feel like they're trying to leave an impression or they're trying to be too casual, but there is a sense of professionalism that you need to present in your interview room, right? Negotiation. Now, negotiation is pretty interesting because it is basically, let's start with, okay, we'll do simple stuff like remote working. So now a lot of us now are, like to work from home or study from home, for instance. We don't really like to go to the office. And if, let's say, for instance, you see in the job description that it's like for hybrid, and the person that's interviewing you just says that, oh, you have to be in from like 9 to 5 from Monday to Friday and all these sort of things, it's very important for you to also negotiate and say like, hey, you know what? I read in your job description that this is also for hybrid working. Could you explain to me a bit more about hybrid working itself? And then you can negotiate like, oh, is it possible if I can work like 2 days 2 days at home and 3 days in the office? Reason being because I live about 1.5 hours away or 1 hour away, and I think like with that travel time I could save up and actually work more productively and effectively by being at home. Now, this is how you negotiate also, because you're also adding the word like, oh, I'm more effective working at home because I don't need to travel 1 hour back and then 1 hour again, and there's like 2 hours wasted. So I'd rather just stay at home and I can start work earlier. So these are things that you can use like negotiate. Even when it comes to salary, for instance, if let's say for instance they give a really low pay, you can also share with them like, I was just wondering like, what is the salary bracket? Is there any possibilities for it to be slightly higher, because I do have a lot of commitment. However, I do understand that, you know, if it's a higher salary, there'll also be a bit more work that I will need to do, and I don't mind taking up the role because I'm really passionate about this. But at the same time, it would really, really be helpful if I could cover up the commitments that I already have. So it's how you negotiate and how you also share with them your situation. At the same time, you need to add value that not such a bad idea to increase the pay, or not such a bad idea to let her work at home. So maybe they might say something like, okay, let's try it for a month and we'll see how it goes. So that's something that you can negotiate and work your way towards it. Follow-up is super important. Now, right after the interview, please don't call the interviewer like every day or the HR every day. That is, I don't know whether it's, the word is annoying, but I think it's frustrating more than annoying, because they have a lot of interviews to do, and sometimes they need their own hierarchy, you know, like this person say okay means then you got to ask their leader, then the other leader, and then the other leader, and then they all need to like figure out whether you're the right role, and then they discuss it. So sometimes it takes time. So it's not like, oh, you didn't get the job, or it's not like there's something wrong with you, but sometimes sorry, sometimes they just need to basically go through the process of it, and some organizations take longer than others. So what you can do is, at the end of the interview, when they say, okay, we'll get back to you, you can ask them, okay, roughly how long will the interview process take for you to finalize all your candidates? And upon confirming, what are the next steps? So at least you know that, okay, when the person says yes, they still need to get approval from this. It takes about a week and a half. Then you're like, okay, is it okay if I call you, or would you inform me? So it's good for you to establish that from the start, and then at that point of time, you can also, after 1 week and a half, then you can call them up, because that's what they said, right? Another thing is, just say they don't pick up, you can also send it via email and then just share it. They're not like, hi, I'm just looking for it because I just want to know whether I got this role or not, you know, so that's one of it. All right, so if there is a lot of questions that you have right now, I'm not too sure whether the chat has any questions. Okay, so if you have no questions so far, that's great. I'm assuming that I'm answering all your questions. But if you have like, you know, a notebook or something at the side, you want to write it first and then later on check, please do so. Because I really want to hear from you. Even if it's not questions, it could be something of like, oh, you have a comment, this happened to you, your fears, or maybe you want to share a bit more about your own experience, or maybe before your internship you had an interview that was really good or really bad. You can definitely share that with me, right? Okay. Let me just pause. Okay, so let's go towards the importance of soft skills. Now, the reason why there's a whole like slide on it is because this is super important for you to present this in an interview, or in an audition, or in like with your friends, or if you want to build new partnerships, if you have new clients, if you're doing a gig and you need to like, you know, share with your audience. It's super important for you to actually set up yourself for success by using your soft skills, right? So your strong work ethic. Now, just because you haven't had a job yet or haven't had working experience yet, in your university, you have survived 3 years or 4 years of full work and study. Now that takes a lot of persistence for you to complete your degree or diploma or whatever coursework that you've done, right? So even one semester, you may think it's nothing great, but congratulations, you've actually completed one whole module or course that you needed to do. So that's great. And you can even use something as small as that as what you think, and you can present it to them. Like, I've taken 3 subjects or 6 subjects in a semester, and I've aced it all, or I've completed it without any challenges, or I have had many challenges in my university, but I'm someone who's a problem solver, so I'm able to actually face any challenges as it comes, so I'm not afraid of it. So sharing how you manage a large assignment in university or internship that helps. Describe the steps you took, the challenges you overcame. You know, if let's say, for instance, there was lack of resources. Now, if just say there was a team member that's not pulling their weight, don't go and complain about them. Oh, I had a team member very useless, you know, I tell you, the whole month, right? I didn't even see him, so I have to do all his work. No, you can just say that we had lack of team members, we had certain team members that were having certain challenges that couldn't be fully engaged in our assignment that we're doing. So I basically took up the responsibility. So you're not really putting them down because that doesn't really look nice when you're speaking to someone, but you're also not putting yourself too high up there, but you're also sharing a bit of the value too. Effective interpersonal skills, now thinking about the time you had to listen and communicate to one or more individual to complete the task. So this is really important. So these skills that you have over here, you have to match it with your job description. This is super, super, super important. So if, let's say, for instance, your job is, let me give a different example, an architect, okay, like let's say, for instance, you're doing architecture and you want to be an architect. And now being an architect, based on what my friends have shared with me, it requires you to be very, very, very particular, even in the smallest things. Like you have to be very accurate and precise. Precise is the word. If precise is the word for you to showcase what makes a good architect, now it is 100% important for you to project that in the interview. You have to show how precise were you in your assignments, or how meticulous you were when you're doing your work. Whether it's something as small as a presentation, you can say, I really like things to be tip-top because I'm very particular about how I present myself, and every small thing matters to me because I have a good eye for detail. Things like that are soft skills that maybe it's not in the job description, but it requires you to do the job. So this is very important for you to present in your interview. Okay. Another tool would be willingness to learn. So now when people actually criticize you, right, or tell you that, whether it's a friend, whether it's your lecturer, whether it's your co-worker, whether it's your employer, it's actually not a bad thing. Firstly, there's two types of criticism. Sometimes people just like to talk crap about you. Okay, that one you can ignore. I think over a period of time being in college, you kind of learn who are that kind of people, right? They just simply like to say stuff about you. There's another kind of person that they generally want good things happen to you, but they also feel like this particular thing is stopping you. So they not to say criticize, but they highlight on areas that you can learn. Now this is important because when you look around your lecturers, your peers, or your internship supervisors, it's always important to get feedback. Whether it's in the company that you're interning in, even if it's your FYP lecturer, someone who supervised you, it's very important for you to get a feedback. Okay, your whole experience here for the past 3 months with me doing this course with you, what areas do you feel that I need to improve on? Now this is super important because this actually makes you reflect back and think whether, oh yeah, I should actually improve on that because that's going to help me do this job better, or it could be like, no, I don't think so. And if you really feel that I'm not this kind of person and I don't need it, it's okay. And you're probably right, maybe you don't need to improve in that certain area, but it's important for you to always reflect on areas you can improve in. So I'm not saying like ask everyone, but I'm sure you have your own mentors and your own like role model, that whether it's that really funny lecturer that everybody loves, or whether it's your parents, or whether it's your older siblings, or whether it's one of these friends, or you're a senior in college that you're like, oh my god, I just want to be like them. Get their feedback, get their honest feedback, and tell them why you want that feedback. It's not that I just want you to ampu me, but I'm really trying to take this opportunity to reflect on my strengths and weaknesses, and I could really appreciate your honest feedback in a nice way so that I don't end up crying. And a nice way on what are the areas I can improve on. So the willingness to learn actually helps you to train yourself on how you can actually find for jobs in the future, or it trains yourself on how you can reflect yourself on the areas of improvement. So even for instance, when your employer, if you're in a company for 5 years and your boss asks you, what's your goal for the next 2 years, for instance, it's important for you to also highlight and say like, hey, you know what, in this whole 5 years, I've already mastered these 10 skills, but I really feel these 2 skills is something I really need to work on. So this next 2 years or 3 years, I really want to go for programs or upskill myself in these 2 areas. For someone to come and tell their boss that it's very bold, it's very confident, and it's also very smart because you have identified something that your boss doesn't need to tell you because you already know it, right? So it's good for you to start now. When you're graduated, you just started stepping into the working world, for you to start reflecting on yourself. Now, don't be too hard on yourself. Like, don't like criticize yourself every single moment, but yeah, start listing it down and also listing down your strengths because that will make you feel a bit more happy after that, okay? Analytical and critical thinking skills. Now, this is super important. I think I've spoke about analytical skills earlier, but you know, sharing how you manage your thesis paper, for instance, and recalling a time you were assigned to a project and had no experience, but then you actually completed it. So you know, when you started a topic that you never thought of, you know, you thought like it was very easy, but then when you started, you realized there was no research paper to back you up on this particular topic, and you felt like changing it, but then your lecturer already approved it, and now there's no turning back. You've got to do your FYP based on this. But you managed and you completed it. These are stories you put down and say that I was able to execute the project and the assignment. All right. So I hope you're still having fun and you're there. And we have like one bonus section. We're actually quite early on time. But this is career success and professional growth. Now, this is my ikigai. All right. So basically, what is ikigai, right? So ikigai is a method for you to use. Now, you can read out a bit about it. I'm not going to go in so much in depth because we don't have so much of time. But this is basically how to find out what is your passion, your mission, your profession, and your vocation. So then you find your ikigai. Now, for those of you who, I don't know whether you heard of this before, read out a bit about it. But basically, this is to find out what areas that you can basically venture in and what is your passion, essentially, right? So if you see the pink color or red color circle over there, you can write down stuff. So you basically draw like 4 circles that overlaps with each other like this. And then you write down what you love. So what you love is like music, hiking, art. I love like the potential of anything, whether it's potential of business, whether it's potential of a person. Like I just love it. Like seeing someone having so much of potential and pushing them towards it is like the best thing ever. Hosting, I love fashion, coffee, of course, coffee. Food as well. What's my mission or what the world needs? So then you can find out what the world needs, right? Peace and happiness. I think there's a lot of negativity out there. I wish you could just like, you know, put like a pixie dust and everybody's just happy. But unfortunately, it's not that easy, right? Sustainable products, that's what the world needs because I feel like, you know, our environment is just not going right. And, you know, using sustainable products or recycling and all that really, really helps. Leadership, I feel some people or the world needs a bit more better leadership, whether when it comes to our country or whether it comes to organizations or whether it comes globally. I think having good leadership is definitely what's needed out there. Kinder people, I think the world definitely needs kinder people, rational people, proper mental health, transparent government, that's something I just had to add. And then the green one, if you can see what you can be paid for. So these are things that you feel like, oh, these are things I like and I can be paid for it, right? Singing, I can't sing, but it can be paid for, okay? So I just wrote it there because I just don't want to admit to myself that I can't sing, okay? So I'm just going to put it there. Ideation, I love to think of new ideas. And I know people are always searching for people who can ideate with them. Mentoring, training, which is what I do. Hosting, arts, people pay for hosts, people pay for arts, people pay for project managers, people pay for like marketing or as a trainer, again, sales, DJ, right? So people pay for these jobs, right? What are you good at? Now, if you think cleaning is not an important thing, it's so important, okay? So I purposely put it there because even something that you do at home, you should highlight it, right? So cleaning, I'm totally OCD. I have to have everything color coordinated and everything needs to be super neat for me. So that's one of the things that I am good at doing. I love organizing things. I love creating games, whether it's activities, whether it's events, whether it's like anything that requires engaging people. I love it. Training kids, adults, hosting mentorship counseling. So you can see, right, these 4 different layers. It overlaps with each other. And then you can list down what overlaps with each other, right? So you've got your passion, you've got your mission, you've got your profession, you've got your vocation. So now you've identified 4 different areas and you can see the similarities. So if I pick up what is repeated out there, and this is something that, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I would love to get on a call with you to just share with you how to do this, because I love it. And you can basically pick out the things that are good for you. So I could potentially, work in Starbucks also and make coffee, because I think I would love the job, and getting free coffee is the best. But training is one of it. That's great, and doing DJing and hosting, and also an event organizer. So technically, I don't really do event organizing, but I do some project management, which is very similar. So that's something that I like to do because of like organizing skills in general. So these are the 4 areas that I can tap on in terms of my career growth. Okay, so this is super important for you to not only do once, and I don't just do this once, I do this like every 3 years or 2 years or 5 years. So I literally just did it again, because sometimes as the years goes by, you will realize what the world needs will be very different pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, right? What you can be paid for is very different right now than before. Like before, you can be paid for so many things, but now it's like a lot of jobs are taken over AI, so maybe you may not be paid for it. In terms of what you're good at, maybe you were good at it back then, but now you don't really harness the skills anymore, and then you feel like, oh, okay, I'm not good at it anymore, but I've already picked up a lot of other skills that I'm good at. And in terms of what you love, of course, as much as we're very passionate, we love a particular field or industry or thing that we want to do, eventually sometimes even that can change. So it's very important for you to recognize what is your passion and what are you working for. And this will go back to the first slide, which is understanding what is your why. The Japanese guy that told, what is your why? You can actually answer it with this whole activity. So I challenge you to not say go back because you're already at home. Okay, this was a physical training. I can be like, yeah, go back, but yeah, now you're probably at home, probably in university. To do your own ikigai, there's so many templates out there. You can just download it or even draw 4 circles and just list out the things that you're doing. If you're not sure which areas or that you want to go towards it, I think it's a good start. Okay, and if you need my help or if you need my guidance for anything at all, maybe just someone to ideate with and banter with and be like, hey, I don't know whether this one is like really what the world needs. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I would love to connect with you. Okay, so that was one of it, and this is some discussion and recap that I want to share with you before we end the session. Note taking, minutes, and reminder. Remember, even when you're going for an interview, or if you're having a team meeting, or if you're having a meeting with your company, always, carry a notebook or use it on your phone or write it on your phone or whatever, not take down notes and minutes and reminders. This is super important. In my calendar, for instance, I write down everything that I need to do because I do not want to forget things, and you will realize as you grow older or you start going and working in different places, sometimes you've got too many tasks or sometimes you've got too many meetings and you've got to schedule it because you don't want to miss out anything, right? And always remember, change is super constant. No matter how much we hate to advance with technology, for some of us like me, you need to learn about it, otherwise you're going to be left behind. So even if your industry does not require to learn about tech or AI tools or all this augmented reality, AR stuff and all that, you still got to gain that knowledge, and you don't have to do a course on it or a program on it. Of course, unless you're interested, go for it. You just need to watch a YouTube video on it to just understand a bit more about what's going on in the real world, right? When it comes to solutions, as simple as it, Google it, okay? Now, not just solutions. I think in terms of when I wrote this, I meant in terms of if, let's say, for instance, you are having a challenge at work and you're not too sure how to solve it, or even if it's at university, if you're still in uni right now, if you're not sure how to solve it, it's super important for you to find the solutions first. So if, let's say, for instance, you have a challenge on teamwork or team management, your whole team is not reacting to you, they're not responding to you. Don't straight run to your lecturer and be like, lecturer, my team are completely useless, this is this, I don't want them to get my marks and all that. It doesn't solve anything. Google it. If your team is having an issue, what can you do? Come up with a few solutions and then present the idea to your lecturer. Now they will look at you in a totally different manner. They'll probably be really respectful over you. They'll have they're probably super proud of you because you came up with solutions, and it's more of just asking of their guidance on which would be the best solution based on my particular team. So when it comes to work and you're in a meeting and you don't understand a certain term, yes, it's good to ask, if you're in conversation, but at the end of the day, if there's certain challenge or struggles in your daily job and you're not too sure how to go about it, it's very good for you to research it, Google it, see what organization does, see what systems have been in place that might have helped to make this problem go away. Present those ideas, whether it's in a slide deck or whether it's just in a paper, or share it with your boss and say like, hey, I've been going through these few challenges and I wasn't sure how to solve it. So what I did was I basically researched a few solutions, and maybe I can present to you and you can see which would be the best one for me to move forward with. And even if it's something from your list or something that's completely different from your list, it's great. At least that initiative that you took helped you gain the knowledge that you didn't have at the start. And number two, it creates a very good personal brand and also showcases yourself in a very professional light to your employer. Okay, so it's very important to definitely look at that. When it comes to your working world, there are different environments, different scenarios. No matter how excited you are to join a company, or no matter how scared you are to join a company, what you experience will and might be completely different on what you expect. So in terms of for instance, toxic culture or people who gossip, it's very important for you to not be part of that kind of culture and to remember to align yourself back on your personal values. If you're the kind of person that don't like to talk bad about people and you don't like this kind of political drama and all these kind of things, stay out of it. You don't have to do it for the sake of it. There's even times where certain cultures are in terms of they go out for parties all the time. They always hang out with different groups after work, and then you feel obliged, you have to be with them. If your personal values and your value is telling you no, I just want to go home and rest, take that. So there will be so many different environments and scenarios. Maybe you have a boss that is super scary, or maybe you have a boss that is too kind and too nice and does everything for you until you don't even need to go to work. Basically, there are bosses that are really, really nice. So you will experience different scenarios, but it's always important for you to reflect back, evaluate, research about it, and perhaps talk to someone about it, and see whether that aligns with you. All right? So that's a bit of a discussion. Now, we're going back to our mentee, basically. We're going back to our mentee, and I want to basically go to www.mentee.com and use the code 25296921. Basically, go to your phone, go to www.mentee.com, use the code 25296921. Now, what did you enjoy about the session? So, the topic was super helpful. Mala entertains me because I know that someone says that you're bored, right? So I hope this entertained you. And then it was not so relevant, but I still gained some knowledge. Okay, Mala and the topic maybe, but the fact that I'm entertaining, and I'm just doing this for a joke, by the way. Okay, but I do want to know that whether the topic was super helpful, whether I entertained you, or whether it was relevant or not, okay? So I do see some of it. Some of you say it was not so relevant, but I still gained some knowledge, and thank you for that. And if there is something that you want to know, I would really love if you could reach out to me and let me know as well, okay? But I do hope this topic was super helpful for you. I see 14 of you still here. That's great. Now, describe in one word, how do you feel after the session? Now, after hearing this whole session, what's the first word that comes in your mind? Are you happy? Are you excited? Are you... I don't want to put words in your mouth, so yeah. What is the... So you can just list down the words. So describe in one word, how do you feel after the session? Enlightened, okay, that's fantastic. Knowledgeable, okay, that's great. Anyone else? Enthusiastic, okay, I'm so glad that you're, enthusiastic right now. And I hope it's the same person that wrote that you were bored. That'll be great, okay? Upskill, that's great. Smile, good. Powerful, okay, that's fantastic. Amazed, grateful. I love these words. It's so amazing. Good, fantastic. Majestic, okay, you are flying somewhere, okay? Confidence, Boosted, okay, that's great. I'm loving the words. There's so much of positivity and it's so great. Useful and enlightened. Amazing, someone has posted up on the chat. Thank you so much for that. Okay, I'm so glad. Motivated, that's definitely something that I had intended. Romantic, ayo, what you doing lah? People talking about interview, you romantic there for what? I think you switched channels halfway. Okay. Well, if that makes your day great, educated, thank you. All right, great. That's fantastic. I'm so glad to see so many positive replies. That's great. Now, how many of you would want to learn more on this topic? So just to share with you, this is my first session with you guys. So it is very, it's not really surface level. I think it's a bit of an intermediate, but there is so much more to this topic that I can dwell on, you know. So in terms of your interview, in terms of how to build your confidence, there's so much to this that actually can deep dive a bit more. So I want to know whether if this is too heavy, if it's too heavy, you can say like, I think this is okay for now. So for three of you, you're like, okay lah, 1.5 hours of you talking non-stop, I think is okay. Where are we again? That means you're not sure what is this at all about. And you're like, what is this course again? Was this a lecture I'm supposed to go to? And I want to know more, all of it, give me everything. Okay, 11 of you already said that. Okay, fantastic. Okay. All right. Now, I think, okay, this is the second last question. So for some of you who said that, I want to know more, give me everything, what other topics you would like me to cover or add in future sessions? So assuming there were future sessions to come in, or you know, UniKL also was doing a session, PERKESO was doing a session, or Microsoft was doing a session, Biji-biji America was doing a session. What other areas or topics that you feel that you think would benefit you? Okay, that's great. Public speaking, that's a great topic because I think a lot of people will love that. Work-life balance, that's fantastic. That's something that I love sharing also in terms of like mental health, in terms of like how you can basically have to, you know, balance both worlds, whether it's your work and when you have a family or friends, and then when you have to also have your own life and also like, you know, be employees. Digital marketing is a great topic. That is a whole other thing that will be so interesting to go into. The art of networking, okay, that's great because it takes a lot of like socializing skills. So for some of you who said like, how can you actually ace an interview for someone who is not really socializing? I think someone mentioned it at the start. So it's very important for you to, you know, like basically reflect back on your soft skills to see how you can be more charismatic. How to attend an interview, the Q&A part in details. Okay, that's good. You can have like a very structured way on the step-by-step interview process. Motivation, okay, I hope this is a good start for your motivation and I could definitely talk more about how to motivate you. Toxic culture, yes, whether it's in your college life or whether it's in your working world or whether it's generally in life with friends and social media, I think that's like a whole thing that we can go on about. Using LinkedIn to find jobs, especially international jobs opportunities, that's actually a really good one. Thank you so much for that. I think that's definitely something that I will want to propose. Healthy working environment, yes, that's very much work-life balance. Working while studying, I'm doing my master's right now and working, and it is tough, but somehow I am completing this September. I don't even know how that happened. How to create a fantastic resume? Okay, that's like a lot of tedious work. So, okay, so for those of you who have like resumes and you're not too sure whether you're in the right path or not, now I'm just opening it out there. It's up to you whether you want to share with me or not. You can reach out to me on my LinkedIn, which I'll share with you later. And if you just need like some thoughts on your resume right now, the current one that you have, so do a resume first, share it with me if you want, and I can definitely give you some pointers on like how to, you know, revamp it or how to make it better, or maybe it's already really good and I'm like, what are you waiting for? Send it to 20,000 companies. So whatever it is, so maybe that's something that we can do. Biomedical engineering, I can tell you this, I cannot help you with that. That is way above, cannot. I need to go and get a degree and come back. Okay, tackling international interview from Malaysia. Okay, that's something that's really good. Maybe you should just have an accent. No, I'm just kidding. Don't have an accent. Don't have a big accent, okay, for international jobs. Working while studying. Hey, fellow biomed. Okay, you got two. Like two of you should start a peer group together. How to slay at work? Yeah, tell me about it. What to expect in work life? That's sort of covered over here, but definitely there is so much of things that we cover. International students finding a job. Okay. All right. Nice. Okay, so now to the Q&A. Is there any questions you have for me? Or you can leave me your testimonial. Leave us your testimonial. Again, go to www.menti.com. Still the same link, probably in this section already. Clicking the code 25296921. So when you're clicking the code, it'll basically come up. Okay. Not all good. Thank you. All right. Leave your LinkedIn link. Yes, I will, boss. Do it right after this. Anything else? Is there any questions they want to share? This is totally anonymous, so the reason why I put it up here, I know we have like a whole Q&A session, and then next like 15-17 minutes. But if let's say for instance you want some question and you feel like I don't want to ask like in public or chat, like maybe I can put it up here. Yeah, you can. I'm good. How can international students find some work? Okay. Slides download. All right. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. I can share with you the links and also like the information that I have here. Can we have the slides after this? Really, thank you. Yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be sharing with it next, and I can definitely share with you. How can international students find jobs? How does AI tech nowadays impact workforce industries in Malaysia in your field, especially in my field? Ooh, okay. All right. Anything else? Okay, I will leave the rest of it to the moderators. I'll just cover the international students part and how to find some work, right? So I think it's very important to search for companies and organizations that are open to hiring international students to begin with. So I feel like you can also request from your university, or if there's any partnerships that they can do with any particular companies out there. So for instance, like Biji-biji Initiative in America Academy, we also hire international students for internship. We also hire international students to go back to their country, for instance, and they can work remotely. So sometimes like you don't need like a visa, you could actually work from your own country itself. So it's advisable for you to do your interviews before you leave back. So for instance, if you're living in the Philippines or Indonesia, it's good to source out for companies over here in Malaysia that are open to hybrid working, and they're open to basically like work with different countries, and they're like, oh, it's okay for you to work from home, and find those companies, and those are the ones that you have to have the conversation with. It takes a little bit more hard work, but when you go through LinkedIn profiles or when you go through job descriptions, they do say in terms of like what are they okay with and what are not. So some companies also give visa, so it's very important for you to also add value in your resume to see like why is it important for them to provide you that particular visa, and some of them are okay with that. Okay, and then so how does AI tech nowadays impact workforce industries in Malaysia in your field? Now AI tech is everything in my field. There is like, so for me, when it comes to training and mentorship, like a lot of it is going towards videos nowadays. There are a lot of like videos that is like with AI, like in terms of like voices. So they could even like incorporate voices in training, which means that you don't really need a person here to train. You can actually do it. You can actually get this like bot to like just do it for you, right? So there are a lot of like technology out there that can replace the work of a trainer, but then again, you do need that mentoring side of things to be like, okay, how you personalize questions of it, and sometimes people require to talk to you rather than just like text you, right? Is Apple better than Microsoft? Janganlah answer to me or make me answer all this kind of question or some more recorded session. Of course, Microsoft better. Okay. Suggestions of books. There is tons of books. Let me know what areas do you want to read more about. Read about. Okay, we'll just go to the next slide. And yeah, so feel free to raise your hand. I think someone, so you can just ask me anything right now. I'll just stop sharing my slides so that. Okay, wait. Actually, I won't stop sharing my slide. Let me just. Okay, so I'll just wrap this up first. So these are training programs that you can actually be part of. So the one on here, introducing Microsoft skills for jobs. This is basically one that's run by Biji-biji Initiative and Marika, which is the partners, and feel free to join our program for free. So you just got to scan the code and you can join it. And after this, if you post about us, tada, you actually get, and you post it on LinkedIn, you stand a chance to be a winner for your grand prize. You see, you get Microsoft Surface Go, 100 ringgit, job searching, allowance, cash, personalized career coaching. What? We have this? Okay, so apparently we are running this program and it's great. So scan the code and you can definitely join us. I will post it on my LinkedIn right after this also. So in case you miss this out, you can go there and scan it lah. Alright. Another thing is Marika Academy. This is part of Marika as well, but we do give like scholarship for B40 communities. For those of you who are fresh graduates or you want to kickstart your career and you want to learn a bit more about like skill sets and so forth, of what I've actually taught but in way more deeper level, you can definitely apply over here. And for those of you who are not in the B40 community, you can also purchase the courses. So there's 2 links over there, or you can just go into our Marika page and you can find this over there. All right, so thank you very much, and you can connect with me. That's my LinkedIn, Mala2802, 28th of February. I hope you remember my birthday next year. And yeah, and my Instagram account too. And feel free to, look out for biji-biji.com and marika.mike, and also of course like search at Tracks FM Instagram page as well, and follow us. And yeah, I hope to stay connected with you. So let's open the floor for questions. Just stop sharing.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Mala, for that very educational session. And with that ends our Q&A session, which brings us to the end of our session for today. All right, I would like to give a lot of thanks to our speaker, Ms. Mala, for taking some time out of their busy schedule to give us a very informational talk regarding communication. And I would also like to thank UniKL, PERKESO, and Biji-biji Alternative for their collaboration of this webinar and making it possible. And with that, I would like to invite everyone to open up their cameras so that we can take a picture together to remember the day.
Yeah, so feel free to just unmute and or turn on your cameras, or maybe post in the chat if there's any questions I missed out, or maybe you want me to re-explain. I would love to chat with you. We've got another like 10 more minutes. I see a lot of you are saying thank you. Thank you too for being here throughout. But feel free to just ask me any questions. All right, thank you, Tier. I would love to have more sessions like this with you too. So that's great. Okay, so I see a lot of thank yous. Oh, you're having a certificate after this. That's great. Okay. Yeah, so I think if there's no questions, feel free to, if just say for instance you have no questions right now and you think about it like an hour later or 2 hours later or 3 days later, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I would definitely want to like share with you. I think Haris is raising his hands. Haris Latif. Yeah, Haris, do you have a question? Okay, or maybe accidentally. Okay. All right. Okay,
Okay, so I think that now that there's no more questions from the audience, we can end a session for today. With that, I'll end my duty as today's host with Wabillahi Taufiq wal Hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and have a good day, everyone.
Right, thank you so much.
You.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Oh yeah, and also for the participants, make sure to use their feedback form to give your feedback to this webinar.
Okay, Miss Mala, on behalf of PERKESO, I want to thank you enough for this session and for UTKL also, UTKL students. Thank you for joining us for Biji-biji initiative. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really had fun. Thank you. Can we take a picture together? It's too late.
I thought they already did. Right? Oh, they wanted to. I don't know if they did.
Actually, I've already taken the picture.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I will send it to you later.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, I will end this session. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, our two moderators here, and everyone who joined us today. Thank you.